Peace to everyone. So I want to kind of show you guys the my recent completion or semi-completion of my first ever ball war club, Eastern Woodland style. Though I will say that this same style does kind of make its way west. Now, the main difference between this and historical examples is this may not be quite as prominent. That might be straight, and sometimes you might have multiple cuts, but you might have just one, and then it goes straight to the handle. This would be more of a doe's foot, but this has more of a dragon-looking face to it because the grain seems to dictate that. Now, I will say that there is a Huron war club where this head is bigger, and then the handle goes down this way, and there's a metal spike. Pretty cool looking, and that is a native design. So this does look kind of Norse, but it also looks kind of Huron. So these came from the same tree. This one here is going to have some thinning of the wood. I'm going to kind of recenter this thing because there's a warp. I don't like that. I have another piece that's made from elm from my mom's old backyard, and unfortunately it warped. Now, these were cut off the tree probably about 6 months ago, and you know, this was drying in the backseat of my car because I was being kind of an idiot. A lot of stuff going on in my life. Didn't really take the time to bring this into the house like I did this one, because this one is already pretty much mostly finished as it is now when I brought it inside. I did put linseed oil on both of them, but that one definitely came inside earlier, inside the house. I definitely took better care of it. Most of the cracking was on the top where the original saw blade had occurred. Now, both of these I've been carving by hand. This one, remove this one from the equation for a sec. This guy here, yeah, so it's got that sort of like panther, serpent, whatever design. Typical of Eastern war clubs, also typical of, well, he's similar to clubs that made their way west. There's been a lot of, the more I study old antique examples, it becomes very clear that not that the designs were universal, but there was definitely some cultural exchange that made its way west. It's also pretty obvious when looking at old examples that, such as I don't want to say the Bradford one, I'd say the King Philip War Club that Captain William Bradford acquired and then passed down in his family line for many, many generations until it was more recently sold. Like, I mean, literally, like, it went down through a male lineage for many generations, and then it went to a daughter and her son and his male lineage for a while until it got sold. In any case, that one clearly had a bunch of saw marks and file marks. I'm not going to make this thing look perfectly round. I'm going to clean up a little bit more, but you can still see there's flat spots and file marks and things like that. I'm going to have a lot of that remain. I did use wood glue to kind of seal this up and kind of to act as filler. I might paint this thing. I might oil it. I'm going to do a lot of sanding on it, but if I sand off all the file marks, I'm going to put some more file marks back onto it. I want them to be there. I want there to be some proof that it was done the old-fashioned way. Now, what I mean by old-fashioned is that once, I mean, going back at least as far as Chief King Philip of the Wampanoag tribe, he, I mean, that piece is really his, the one that went into the Bradford family for so many generations. If that's all correct, and it probably is, it was definitely made by European tools. It definitely had saw marks and file marks. And there's a lot of examples of these clubs that have evidence of that. Now, there's also some that look very smooth, like the balls look like they're very, very spherical. But not all of them were like that. I mean, these type of imperfections were not uncommon. Now, you'd have a lot of other weird anomalies in some of these northeastern ones where it's like there's all these holes cut out, all these different decorative holes, and this ball would be a little bit further, and there'd be a bunch of decorative holes in there, and it's like, it must have been a ceremonial piece, because if you took that in a battle, even with the hardest of hardwood, the thing's going to break. So yeah, even as a ritualistic killing item, it would probably crack. So, whereas, I mean, contrary to, all the cracks and all the little, knots, which could create weak points when there's reverberation, if that wasn't there, if this were more of a solid straight grain piece, or if this was literally the root and then this is all a branch that came up instead of it being from one single relatively straight piece of wood, yeah, you'd be dealing with this would be an extremely formidable weapon. I still think it is. I still think that I could fight with this thing and it would actually hold up fairly well for a little while. And yeah, it's definitely a sturdy beast. I love it. I love it very much. So, yeah, a lot of the kind of fine detail I put into it just to kind of, just like, to be honest, like the shape of the mouth of the either panther or serpent, whatever it actually is in the lore, that took multiple attempts. I wasn't originally going to do that. The ball on this thing was actually bigger than this originally. I had to shave it all down a little bit more than I planned, and it definitely was too wide. It's still a little bit wide on one side, but I'm probably going to leave it. But yeah, it's the imperfections do give it character. The weird grain, the multicolor grain, that's natural in the wood, actually it does give it character. I don't like that as much. That's one reason I considered painting this thing, but we'll see. Now this, I might either just carve a line here to make it look like there's a mouth, or I might even carve the mouth out of it. There's already a crack here as it is, which I put some glue into. It may not matter much if I were to go ahead and cut that off. As far as this is concerned, it may not be as big of a deal. In worst case scenario, I could always recut this into a doe's foot if I decided I wanted to, but we'll see. I might leave it. I might just scratch a line with my knife, but make it look good. Yeah, I use my wood chisel, Japanese boat saw, which, I mean, they would have been using a different type of saw, obviously, but still would have been a saw, hand-powered. Files, I use my Milwaukee box cutter for part of it. This is all done by hand. Like, none of this is done with machines. When I sand it, it's not going to be an orbital sander that sands it. It's going to be by hand. Everything about this is going to be by hand, other than the original logs being cut with a chainsaw by the maintenance guy or whatever. But that's pretty much the current status of this. I'm proud of how it's turned out. I mean, it's not. You might look at it and go, "Oh man, it's pretty rough looking." You should have seen it before. This thing's. I mean, there's still rough spots here, and there's still, like, you might say, stock removal that needs to be done. Definitely some sanding. I did some filling in with glue, as I mentioned, not just in these big cracks, but also in other spots, like right here, just to kind of seal it a little bit. I'm hoping to be able to sand off all the glue if I can. All that which is not now necessary. And if I painted it, it'd probably be red or black. But yeah. Yeah, this type of weapon is definitely common in the eastern woodlands, with that same panther serpent mouth holding a ball. I reckon that the same type made its way to the southeast. It definitely made its way west. But I also know that there's an image called the Drought of the Creek Nation, where it literally has like a ball, then this sort of question mark shaped handle. And it's a little bit different than anything else I've really seen in living examples. But then again, I might find a living example that might be from a Western tribe. Who knows? I mean, the thing is, like I said, a lot of the stuff makes its way west. Like, I'm very convinced that even though we had wooden boards of some kind, we definitely had wooden logs that we squared in some way, using whatever tools we had, whether they're stone, whether they're copper. I believe copper tools would have been used at some point. because we know for sure that the Mississippian culture had copper knife handles, okay, and copper awls for poking holes in leather. Now, what exactly the purpose of all these were, I don't know. There was copper celt axe heads, and which they try to say were purely ceremonial of some kind. I don't think that's totally true. I think it eventually became true, but I don't think it's entirely the case. Excuse me. I think these were definitely, at one point, we definitely had axes made of copper, we had knives made of copper. We probably used them in the manufacture of some of our stuff pre-colonization. Do we use stone tools as well? Absolutely. But once we had access to iron tools, we definitely went for that. And that became the norm. Yet we still made the same type of, at least general type of weapons and tools out of wood that we had already had. So it's interesting. And so, yeah, we just got quicker at making the same thing that we continue to use for, a couple hundred years moving forward. But in any case, yeah, I think that the idea that, that the Lakota Sioux or any of them were actually making gun stock war clubs out of like boards that they themselves manufactured with stone tools at that point is actually a ridiculous, preposterous theory. I don't believe it for a second. I think at that point they had already acquired tools from Mexican, Canadian, and American traders. And so they already were using tools that were superior to what they would have had before to make the same thing. And also the Gunstock Club probably was an imported idea. I imagine that maybe through trade, again, maybe with Canadians and some Americans, they probably like acquired the concept a little bit more. I mean, clubs already existed, but were they using gunstock clubs? I don't really believe they were until they made their way west from the eastern tribes. So, and the origin of the Gunstock Club is itself debated because of its shape and because of just different ideas. I think it already kind of existed in some form when you compare to the Natchez War Club, which really is kind of not too different from this. If you just add a curve point going this way, it's kind of the same tool, really. So the Natchez Gun Club, Natchez Club is kind of a cross between the Gunstock Club and this one right here. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Please let me know please let me know yours in the comment section. I will try when I have a little more time to do some type of combative exercise video with this club. As it is now, I feel pretty comfortable with it. It's pretty, I don't want to say light, but it's pretty well balanced. I would be comfortable using this in battle in its current dimensions. I don't think I would need to thin it down much more to make it feel the way it should. Any further thinning down is going to be more for the aesthetics of it. Again, more filing, more sanding, things like that. So anyway, I'll get back to y'all later. But over watching.